What is up, guys?
Hey, welcome to the first ever History Club Waldorf Wizard podcast.
First ever. Let's go.
Very excited to be here. Very excited to get things started. Let's hop right into it.
Yeah.
Today's schedule. Dallas, you want to fill them in?
Yeah, so we're going to start just introducing ourselves a little bit, you know, what we're trying to do here with the podcast, who we are as a club, that kind of stuff. And then kind of our overarching theme here for our first one, we're going to talk about just like the history of Waldorf University, you know, the school that we both attend. And so we're first going to start talking about the hotel wars. That'll make sense once we get to it, like what's hotels got to do with the college? Well, you'll find out. And then we'll talk a little bit about the dance lock-in of 1969. We were going to go on, and Peter's going to talk about the presidency of Waldorf over the past, and then we're just going to have some kind of open conversation and see where it rolls from there. Like he said, first podcast ever, so still, you know, figuring everything out.
Still working everything together. Yeah,
so we'll see how it goes. So if you want to start introducing yourself.
Okay, yeah, I'm Peter Neill. I've been a student at Waldorf for just this last semester. I came here to play football for Waldorf University. I was born in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1998. Went to San Diego when I was very young. Lived there in a small town of San Diego called Poway. Went to Poway High School. And then for Poway High School, I went to San Diego Mesa Community College. One of the best experiences of my life, and I guess throughout the podcast, maybe you'll learn I'm very into community college, and I'll always support anybody who goes to community college. It's always a great decision.
For sure.
That's about all from me. That's my kind of academic history.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Dallas Knoop. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. So just 2 hours south here of Waldorf, which is in Forest City, Iowa. I went to Des Moines East High School. I'm born and raised in Des Moines. Came here. This is my third year here at Waldorf. I came here my freshman year on a wrestling scholarship. I wrestled for 2 years here, and then just this year, my junior year, I got the opportunity to switch to an academic scholarship, which I miss wrestling, but I was pretty excited to jump onto it because it gave me the opportunity to focus on school, which is the main reason I'm here anyway. I'm a history major and with a political science minor.
President of the History Club.
President of the History Club.
Yeah.
Peter's our vice president. Can't forget that.
Yep.
But I guess that's about it on me and Waldorf anyway. I absolutely love it here. You know, past 3 years have been awesome. Can't wait to finish it out next year. But yeah.
Definitely, yeah. So the past week or so, Dallas and I have been doing a lot of research into Waldorf University, our college here. One of the biggest things about Waldorf University's history, which obviously we're very interested in as history majors. One of the biggest things in the past of history of Waldorf University is the hotel wars. I'm gonna let Dallas tell you a little bit about that, and we have some slides to show you too.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So Waldorf University didn't always used to be a college. Started out as a hotel, but there used to be 2 hotels in Forest City. So there was the Waldorf Hotel, of which became Waldorf University, and there was a Summit Hotel. Both of these were built in the time in Forest City's past when train transportation was a huge part of life during that era, and so you'd have lots of travelers coming through Forest City with nowhere to stay. So they decided to that the town needed a hotel, and so there was a couple of bankers within Forest City who decided that they would want to fund a hotel, but there was a little bit of controversy over where this hotel should be built. Some believed it should be built in the current spot of where Waldorf is right now, and then others wanted it across town, Court Square, which is where Waldorf ended up being built. But then there was
right across the street from the main hall of Salveson is the actual courthouse as it stands today.
And so back then there was a banker named Charlie Thompson, and he actually, if any of you are from the Forest City area, familiar with the Mansion Museum that we have now, actually used to be Charlie Thompson's home. and he thought that the hotel should be on that side of town, and so he pushed for it to be built actually very close across the street from his house, and that would become the Summit Hotel. And so as these hotels are being built,
Summit Hotel is the one that's pictured on the screen right
yeah,
now.
that's the Summit Hotel. But as these two are being built, there starts to be competition because it was a very small town at the time, and now you have two hotels, which was little too much for the traveling that was going through. One was needed, but two was too
It was
many.
completely unnecessary.
Right. And so the Summit and the Waldorf ended up being built. Each of them had about 50 rooms each, so they were relatively the same side. The Summit was built on the north edge of town. But yeah, so this began to divide the town, actually. Those who were for the Waldorf Hotel and those who were for the Summit Hotel. Even got to the point where the horse-drawn cabs at the time that would take passengers from the trains to the hotels or where have you they were going, whichever side they were going to, they would highly try to convince the who they were picking up that that's where they should go and stay. And but the problem is so now you have two competing hotels and competing for pricing. They were charging rooms for $1 a night per person and $2 a night for their best rooms in the hotel. But in the time that seems like a reasonable price, but they were operating well below costs of running. Okay, so they both ended up not making money. They ended up both actually going down.
Which is a fairly common thing in a capitalist society, right? You have two operating businesses who want to continuously lower their prices.
Right, and if you're looking at a big city where there's all kinds of different options, that works. But in a really small town like Forest City, you have those two places competing, lowering each other down, and then all of a sudden, now there's no income for either of them.
Absolutely.
So the Waldorf building in 1903 ended up being purchased after going out of business. Ended up being purchased by Reverend C.S. Salvesen, who was a Lutheran pastor and would buy the Waldorf Hotel and turn it into what was Waldorf College at the time was a more of a Christian academy versus an actual college as we think of it in the traditional sense. But yeah, so 1903 it went from a hotel into the college that is now here today. I think Peter's got I think I sent you another picture that shows the. Yeah, so this is the Waldorf Hotel. I believe this picture was right after. I think this is like the inaugural year it was turned into Waldorf College. I could be incorrect, but I believe that's what is pictured there. But yeah, and when it's really cool. So this is Salvesen Hall now. It's called after.
Oh yeah.
The man who founded it. And it served many purposes through Waldorf's history. It started out as basically the whole college or academy at the time, and throughout its years it progressed. And during the '60s, I know Salvesen was used as a girls' dormitory.
Interesting.
And then now Salvesen is mostly just offices for professors and the business office and registrar's office and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but which is pretty cool though is that picture right there from I believe 1903 is about exactly what Salvesen looks like now. Obviously some renovations to keep it looking, but it looks exactly the same for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. The pillars out in front, they're still there. I believe those are ionic.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it so? Three different types of pillars. If anybody cared, Ionic, Doric, Corinthian. Those are the three main types. So obviously the building has some sort of like Greek or European ancestry. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, with that, the hotels actually when they were built were very European inspired, actually, which makes sense and it reflects it in the architecture. But even I believe reading that like the food that they served like within the hotels was even like European inspired as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, even if you look just the small details, like if you look at that picture to the right of the columns, the middle row of windows, the one in the middle, there's that cage around what looks like would be like a walkout there. Those cages are still there. I don't know if they're the same ones, and I don't believe those doors open anymore. But I think it's just cool details like that that the university has made efforts in keeping it in its in the state that it once was.
There's so many people in this picture.
To my knowledge, like I said, I believe that picture was from. It was posted in the Gazette, and I believe this was from the inaugural opening of Waldorf Academy. So I think there was just I'm sure they did some sort of service or something, and the people from the city came to attend.
Okay, right. So as I think you know, Waldorf University actually started off as a community college first.
Yeah. So it started off as more of a high school type academy, and transitioned into being a college. It was a 2-year college for a very long time, and then after it was a community college, it transitioned into a 4-year college, and then just within actually my freshman year here, so just 2 years. This was my 3rd year, 2 years, whatever that math is. I'm not good at math. I'm good at history. It became a university after being a 4-year college. It transitioned into being a 4-year university.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so it's just really interesting thinking back about, how the college started. It's, started out as never with the intentions of ever being a college. Started out as just being a hotel for guests to stay at traveling through, and then the hotels went out of business, and Reverend Salveson saw the opportunity to do something with it, and he did. And now it's been around for over 100 years. Coming up on close to 120 here in a few years.
Right.
So it's been around for quite some time, and it's cool to think about that, being that it was never intended to be a college anyway.
So what happened to the Summit Hotel?
So the Summit Hotel. Oh, you're testing me here because I forgot to look into it. So after it, I believe it caught on fire, and ended up burning down. And now I'm sure people from Forest City are going to get on me if I'm incorrect about this, but I believe that is where City Hall is built now today.
Okay.
Was built there. That could be wrong.
From my memory, I think you're correct.
Yeah. I believe so.
I can't. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But yeah. So. You can still go and see, I guess, where it was. It's not that now, but yeah, no, that's where City Hall is now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's I guess flash forward a few years, quite a few years, looking at 1969. There was a huge time in Waldorf's history because we had there was quite a large population during that time at the university, at the college. It would have been a college.
Right, yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's so weird saying college because since I've been here, it's been university. So then looking back and calling it college.
Right.
There's different times, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Footloose and how dancing was banned. That was actually happened to be the case at Waldorf. So at this time, dancing was banned on campus. Well, there was quite a few students who held they decided to come together and organize a dance lock-in, where they would lock the doors. This picture is from the class of '69 yearbook, and I think it's just a really funny. So you got those banners and said, "Ban the 11th commandment: Thou shalt not dance." And I think that just kind of speaks something about just the. The social environment of the time, right?
Right, absolutely, yeah.
And
they
definitely
thought it was almost a religious thing.
Yeah,
you could not. Yeah,
yeah. Well, and it is. Dancing is a huge, freedom of expression, right? Like that's part of it. And but yeah, and it's interesting because you look at, you look at the late '60s, '70s. These are like really big transitional periods in history when you start to see all these movements and things, especially coming out.
About when was Elvis?
This would have been. This is from the '69 yearbook, so this would have been during '69.
Okay, yeah.
But you look at things in this, this post, Vietnam era. college campuses are huge spaces for protests and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
so
you think about the Vietnam War going around in this era, right?
yeah, exactly. So and so you think of like when you're thinking about college campuses at this time. You look at Kent State University. That's a huge protest. Everybody knows about. People
Absolutely.
ended
I
up
believe 11 dead and
by the National Guard,
Right.
and so you transition that, and you're looking at the same time period, but you're looking at a college campus in a town of a few thousand people. As to where Kent State had just as many in the city as they did on campus, right? Like they had the same amount of people on their campus that Forest City probably did in the whole city,
right.
And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
and so you have these huge national protests at a large scale, and just during this era, this is an era of protests and revolutionary change. But it just shows people still have this need to have their voice heard, right? And so, like, maybe the Waldorf University student or Waldorf College student body at the time didn't maybe have the voice to protest things like the war and things like that, but they were standing up for something that they wanted within their own community. And at this time, they weren't allowed to dance, which sounds directly from the plot of Footloose, but it happened. And so they staged this dance lock-in, and I believe they went in the CIC.
Here's another picture from it. Yep.
Yeah, that's in the CIC, which is the student
The
center.
CIC is the local building here that's directly in the center of campus. It's if you want to go anywhere, if you want to eat, you go upstairs in the CIC. If you want to get your mail, you go into the CIC. It's a very central hub for the college, for the university here.
Yeah, and so they locked all the doors. They locked all the professors out, and they held this dance lock in. And I can't recall off the top of my head how long it lasted, but I believe it was like all night they danced.
Yeah.
And
right. So I think from what I was reading, it was like 8 or 9 hours. So
yeah,
they were just
it was
dancing
a
the
good
whole
amount of time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I think this just reflects, these people's needs for their voices to be heard. They wanted to make a change, and they did. And even though it's on a much smaller scale than you see of larger campuses at the time, but they were doing what they could, right?
Right. Yeah. So Waldorf's highest attendance rate was during 1969. Was during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
And of course that comes from various other inputs, because in order to be ineligible for the draft, you could join a university, join a college.
Exactly. I believe still it is one of the highest, if not the highest, attendance rates Waldorf has ever had.
Right.
I could be incorrect on that, but it's definitely up there in at least the top 5 years of Waldorf history.
Right. Yeah. You hear stories about professors asking how can we get more people into Waldorf University? Well, let's start another draft is what we need to do.
Maybe not,
right?
but maybe we don't actually. But yeah, no, that's it brought a lot of people to campus.
Yeah, and so they didn't necessarily have that sort of voice to denounce the Vietnam War, right? But they did have major problems in Waldorf University, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the major point of the dance lock-in was the major ban, the 11th commandment, right? You want to be able to dance,
right? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's really cool to look back, especially at the college you attend, and just look at the history throughout that's took place. Or taken place, because even though Waldorf now is still a relatively small school, it's cool to look at all the things that have happened throughout Waldorf's history.
So what's going on at Waldorf today? What are some of our issues that we could start a dance lock-in for today?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I don't know. We're allowed to dance. We're allowed to.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
we can get up and dance right now if we wanted to.
You don't want to see it, but
no,
it could happen.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a war to protest right now. I mean, we could protest the war in Iraq or...
Yeah. I suppose.
But
you could always protest the Donald. Everybody likes doing that.
yes, absolutely, yeah. He's not that bad.
Yeah.
Donald's not that bad, but
you know, it is what it is. I think definitely we live in a, this is just an idea and a little off topic, but like I said, we don't even know what we're gonna do with these podcasts anyway.
Right,
but,
exactly, yeah.
so this could veer completely off from our topics, but you hear people talking all the time about like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation. I should have been born in the 20s. I should have been born in the 50s. Like, people, this is the best time to be alive,
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
You hear it so often, too. It's like, you wish you were born in the 20s, yeah? You wish you were born before, like a lot of modern medicine. You wish you were born
There's so much we have today that we couldn't even dream of before, right?
Yeah,
like the internet itself. Back in the 69s, when there's no internet.
Yeah.
If there was internet back then, you wouldn't be doing a dance lock-in. You'd be here playing on your Xbox, right?
Exactly.
There's so much we have today that we need to be thankful for, and that we need to accept that it's one of the best times of our
it's like
ever.
Oh, you wish you were born during the Roaring '20s? Cool, you get to partake in racial inequality and segregation.
Yeah,
like all of these things
right.
that like people forget about. That they're not that long ago. We're not that far removed from things like that.
No.
From segregation, from not having modern medicine, from all these things that we take for granted now in today's society. But yeah, I don't. Just a side tangent, but definitely something I think about a lot, because you hear it all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I had an alarm set at 2:23 in the afternoon for some reason.
2:23. What's going on at 2:23?
I don't know. I think my roommate's been getting into my phone and just leaving random alarms, because I don't remember setting any of this.
Okay,
I think he's just messing with me.
Fair enough. Maybe we can protest that.
Yeah, there we go. That's something to
We'll
protest.
set up a dance lock in your room.
Just in my room.
Yeah,
Just the two of
yeah.
us. It'll be really weird. We'll live stream it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God. That'd be the most views we'd ever get.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So coming from California,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How do you enjoy Forest City? Or do you enjoy Forest City?
Okay. So yeah. So it's a lot colder here.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
There's not really an ocean here.
No, there's
Yeah.
not.
Well, so some things that I could like bring in that are kind of like surprising that you don't really think of coming from outside the state is the water here is cleaner.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I could have imagined. I've read, last semester I took an environmental history class, and we read a book called Cadillac Desert, and it was on water scarcity in California and the different processes they have used
It
to
is
try to gain
indeed
water.
very scarce.
Yes. And so, but yeah, so no, I do believe that the water is cleaner here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of the things that like you think of. Otherwise, I mean, just being here on campus, it's kind of been always something that I wanted to do. I always wanted to be away from home, almost out on my own, doing my own thing.
It's a good ways away from California.
Right. Yeah. So like if I don't know, I always thought if I was like way close to home, like San Diego State is like 30 minutes away from home, it wouldn't be the same experience for me, right?
Yeah.
So coming out here is a very different experience because there's very different people out here, right? So there's not very many cars. Everything is inside, which is a big like difference, right?
Wait, it gets cold here, like you said.
Yeah.
Would you want to walk to class in like an open air school?
I guess
when it's
not.
like when
right.
it's negative 30 outside.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
No, but like everything's like I don't know. People are just generally nicer.
Yeah.
Does that make
it's
sense?
Midwest. It's the Midwest. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, we're in Iowa, but there's the term Minnesota nice.
Okay.
And I think that definitely translates to a lot of the Midwestern states. Just.
No, I'd agree, definitely. Yeah, like I came here the first day. We went into the local breakfast cafe.
Sally's, yeah.
Diner, yeah. What a great establishment.
Awesome
some great
place.
food there. And we go in with my mom, and like, obviously she's almost in tears at this point because like, I'm leaving, right?
Yeah. She's leaving you in this
yeah.
desolate cornfield.
Right, yeah. Oh no, but so we're going in there, and the very nice lady in charge, I believe it was actually probably Sally.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
And she brings us like all sorts of food, and it was very cheap and very good, and the service was impeccable, and like just amazing, like nice, right?
Yeah.
It shocking to me.
Don't get that often in California.
No, no. If I could find a like diner like that in California, I'd pretty much go there every day, right?
Yeah.
California is I don't know. You can't really find places like that because everything's so dense and so together, right? So you get a lot more fast food places. You get a lot more of like one of my favorite restaurants is In-N-Out, right?
Never been there.
Oh man, that's some of the best burgers you'll ever have.
Yeah, I've heard the fries suck though.
The fries are terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. You have to get the fries right because you have to try them and see how bad they are.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
Well,
like,
I mean,
you don't
you
judge
gotta-
In-N-Out based on their fries, right?
Right. It's it's the burgers you're there for.
Right. So I've heard rumors like people will go into In-N-Out and they'll say like, oh yeah, what do they say? You got to overcook the fries and you got to tell them to add more salt, right? If you have to do anything to your fries to make them taste like good,
Yeah.
like
Like
you
if they're
probably
not
be
coming
doing
out
that in
like
the first place,
Yeah. Exactly.
right? So, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I've yet to have the opportunity to try In-N-Out.
Oh man, you totally should.
Yeah,
It's very good.
But it's one of those like regional places. Like it's not,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And so I haven't had the opportunity to go to California yet. But I've had quite a few of the other like regional ones that we don't necessarily have here in the Midwest. Like I've been to Whataburger, big one down south.
Yeah.
I've been to Jack in the Box. We don't have those around here.
You don't have Jack in the Box? Seriously?
Seriously.
No way.
Yep.
They also don't have Carl's Jr. here.
Well, okay, we have Hardee's, which is it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, but
It's
it's
just
different.
called something different.
Yeah.
So it's even the same like logo and mascot. It just has a different name, and it's
Right.
all the same company. But
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
very, very weird to find out that Carl, it's literally just the star, right? And you go in and it says Hardee's. And when I first went in there, I was like freaking out. I was like, what is this?
it's an imposter.
Exactly. Oh, man. No, but we also went to some other regional food places on the Missouri Valley History Conference. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. The conference or the food?
Oh.
Well, I'll start. The conference was awesome. It was a really good opportunity. That was the first history like legitimate academic conference like that I've ever been to.
No, yeah, me too. Yeah.
And it was a really good opportunity, and it just an experience to listen to people present their papers and their research that they've been working on for a long time.
Yeah, I heard some great papers.
Yeah, there were some not so great ones, but there were some really good ones.
This is true.
And it was surprising to me which ones I ended up actually liking. Like with the one session we sat in on, and the lady was talking about women's fashion styles as it related to the Dust Bowl.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
and that one, I like the Dust Bowl, but the whole clothing thing, I wasn't so. That was probably my favorite one there.
Yeah.
That one was so good.
Right.
But it was also cool to see people our own age presenting as well. And but yeah, it makes you sit back and think, I wonder if I can do that kind of thing. And I believe that I can at that level. But no, it was a really cool experience. But yeah, no, that Dust Bowl paper was just awesome.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and the lady presenting it was phenomenal too. She she almost wore like period style era, right?
A little bit, like maybe not exactly, but of the theme. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So another trip we took more recently was the trip to Des Moines.
Yeah.
We should
That was
talk
cool.
about
We went down with the history club to the Capitol and visited the historical building of Iowa. But yeah, if you want to talk about the Capitol trip, and then I'll talk about the historical building trip.
Yeah, man. So the capital of the state of Iowa is this beautiful gold domed building, right? So it has one central dome and then 4 little copper domes. Fun fact, they're green now, just like the Statue of Liberty, because it was also made of copper.
Right.
So the beautiful surrounded by 4 domes, one just gold-plated dome. I believe she said that the amount of gold was in there, if you rolled it up, would only be about the size of a baseball.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about, because you look at the dome and it's It's
It is massive, man. It is so big.
But it's just such thin gold leafing that if you put it all together, which I mean, a baseball's worth of gold is a lot, but to cover such a huge dome,
right? Yeah. No, and so we arrived there about 9:30 a.m. in the morning. Nobody's awake yet.
Yeah, I'm not usually awake.
We immediately go up. First thing I notice is the cannons out in front of the Capitol. Happy Second Amendment Rights Day.
America.
and so we take a picture in front of a statue. Do you remember what the statue was? I can't recall what the statue was. He'll pull up the picture and we'll get it up here soon.
I want to say it was related to...
Was it
Manifest Destiny?
I think so. I believe so. Yeah, we took our generic thumbs up picture, and then we went inside for the tour at about like 9:30, 10 o'clock ish. Yeah, we got to see all sorts of things in the Capitol. One of the main things we got to see was we got to see how beautiful the interior of the Capitol was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So a lot of it is like mostly concrete, right? But you also have some like glass mosaics in there of various early settlers. You have an entire portion dedicated to like gold leafing inside. One of the most interesting things was the USS Iowa, right? So if you go in there, there's this replica of, or I guess model is a better word for it, of the USS Iowa ship, which was used to carry Truman, I believe, right?
Yes, yes. It's actually the only battleship with a... no, it was
Roosevelt, right? It was FDR.
It was the only battleship built with a bathtub inside of it because,
fun fact,
as you know, FDR had polio, and so he couldn't stand in the shower. Yeah.
Right, and so yeah, that was one of the most interesting facts, and it's actually a massive. She says it was like as big as like 3 football fields.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is for reference, if you know the principal building in downtown Des Moines, it's the tallest building in Iowa, and she said it's like 100, 200 feet taller than that.
Right.
That blew my mind.
And you look at the model, and right behind the model, in the background, there's this giant window, and through the window, you see the principal building.
Yeah. So it was perfect.
Right.
Here, I just sent you some pictures from the Capitol.
Okay.
So you can see that statue and stuff. But no, yeah, just touring the Capitol. It's if you've never been to the capital of Iowa, which is in Des Moines, it's beautiful, right? And but yeah, just all the intricacies inside of it, from the gold leafing to
pull up some pictures.
But like I was saying, just so intricate. So this picture here, can they see it?
Pull it up, yeah.
I'll wait for him to pull it up. Yeah.
There we go.
This picture right here, this was taken in the library at the State Capitol building. You could see Peter and I there up at the top.
There's me.
Yeah.
There's Dallas.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a group of some other history majors and just other history enthusiasts, maybe not majors. But no, yeah, just you can kind of see with that staircase that is original cast iron. It's still beautiful. You go to that picture of the statue that we were talking about outside the front.
This is the statue we were talking about earlier.
Yep, so you got our group there, and I still believe it's a Manifest Destiny statue. I don't recall. But you can see the Capitol there in the background with the gold dome there.
Gold plating at the top and the copper domes over here.
Yeah, but no, it was really cool.
Dallas.
And we actually ended up, part of the tour, went up to the top of the dome there from the inside.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, hold on. But before that, let's go over the last picture here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was also very cool.
This is a cool picture. So this
was kind of after the tour, though, but we'll go over it now.
Yeah. Outside of the Capitol there, they have a big map of Iowa, and it has all 99 counties. And so we got all of us who are from Iowa to go stand in the counties that we're from. And it's just a cool...
Including Professor Mason.
Yeah, including Mason. Yeah. It was just a cool picture, definitely.
Yeah. I was standing over... backed by the history building at this point, because that's where California would have been.
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 blocks away. Okay?
Yeah. But yeah, no. So we went to the top of the dome there, Peter. That was. I'll tell you what. I love heights. I'm like an adrenaline enthusiast for the most part.
Yeah.
There was something about that I liked a whole lot more when I did when I was in middle school.
Well, I think a lot of that was. It was also pretty scary because. The bar that was the only thing preventing you from going over was this bar about hip height.
Yeah, just maybe a little over hip height. Yeah.
Like
was-
I'm pretty tall, right? And so
Yeah,
like
me too.
it was very short.
Like,
all right?
it wouldn't have taken too hard of a shove to go too far over.
Oh yeah.
And like, yeah, man, I don't.
One of my favorite jokes was like we were up there and I was standing right behind Dallas and I just kind of shake him real quick and he freaks. Oh man,
yeah.
that was very funny. Yeah.
No, yeah, and usually I like that kind of stuff, but I think the fact that like that railing was so low,
Right.
the whole time my knees were like, dude, let's get out of here.
It was something like 200, 300 steps to get to the top too.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just like
Well, because when you're in the
never-ending
dome
spiral
there,
staircase.
well, and it's not only like you're just going to the next floor. There's a hole all the way through that goes all the way to the basement.
Right,
So you're not just
yeah.
dropping one story; it's a long
No,
ways down.
you're going all the way
Yeah.
down. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, goodness. Another thing, we got to see the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
were cool.
Okay. So that was really interesting. I don't know if you noticed this, but a little tidbit that I found there. Okay. I don't know if you saw it, but they have this House of Representatives and the Senate right behind the speakers. Right.
Yeah.
They each have three portraits of former presidents. Right.
Okay.
So they have George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Donald Trump. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is a little weird because Abraham Lincoln. I understand George Washington.
Right. Right. Yeah.
First president. I understand Trump, current president. Abraham Lincoln, not much to do with Iowa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that is weird. I noticed. I've definitely noticed that too. I think Emma pointed that out to me, and I was like, I don't know. If I had to take a guess, and I don't know, and I don't know this at all to be true, just a interpretive guess, I suppose, would be that Lincoln is known a lot for abolishing slavery. Like that's kind of the big thing
That's
he's
his
known
thing,
for,
yeah.
right? Iowa was actually a huge part of the Underground Railroad during that time, and so actually West. You know what? This would be a really cool day trip to do again, maybe next year. In West Des Moines, there's the Jordan House, and it was actually a stop along the Underground Railroad. And what's cool is you can go and tour the house, and it's set up like in its original fashion and all that. And but if you go into the basement, you can look, and there's tunnels that lead out of the basement, and it's so cool. And like one of the tunnels I know they say leads to like a well that's out back as like an escape
interesting.
route
Okay.
during the Underground Railroad, and so that would be a really cool trip to go on. But yeah,
Yeah, no, that would be sweet. Yeah.
maybe that has to do with why Lincoln's picture is there. I mean, obviously, like.
Well, I think obviously if you're going to have three pictures up there, right, you want to have the three most famous presidents, and everybody agrees Washington and Lincoln are the best, right?
Yeah, right.
Everybody agrees those two are the good guys.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but I don't know.
Right, yeah. And I mean, we're going to have Trump's picture up there for another 6 years, right? So
We'll see, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
and then the other... Also, why wouldn't they just have Hoover's picture up there, right?
Yeah, the Iowa boy.
Right, so maybe that's it. He's less agreed on because he pretty much started the Great Depression, but
he got a dam.
yeah, he got a dam. That's right.
Can't get his picture in his own state's capital, though.
No, but speaking about the Donald Trump pictures, right? The thing I wanted to bring up about them was that there are two different pictures, right? The one in the House was just like a very unflattering picture of Trump. And the one in the Senate was like a pretty good looking picture of Donald Trump, right?
Okay.
And that's what it was very weird. Like you would think like the White House would just send them pictures, right?
The same pic? Yeah, I did not notice that at all.
Yeah.
And,
Little tidbit.
this is going to speak a lot, claiming to be a political science major from Iowa. I don't necessarily know the demographic of the Senate and the House of Representatives right now.
Right.
But generally, when you look at the national level, when you get a Republican president elected, eventually there will be a shift towards a Democratic Congress.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Could that reflect to do? Okay, so then Kim Reynolds, Republican governor, because the Senate is generally 50-50 because you have two representatives, so then maybe the House is shifted towards Democrat. Maybe this is a complete guess. Probably has no actual factual backing.
Right. Yeah.
But
it could be interesting.
But could it be
yeah.
that like maybe so the House and I don't even know if this is true, but maybe say the House is majority Democrat.
Okay.
And so they picked a worse picture
Right,
of
yeah,
it.
okay,
I don't know if that could be completely wrong, but maybe
Right,
I
it
don't
could
know.
be, yeah.
conspiracies of the Capitol.
That's right, Iowa State conspiracies. What else do we have?
Oh,
yeah, I think that was about it for the Capitol.
Oh, you know what else though? So my grandmother actually works at the Capitol.
That's right, yeah.
And so
super nice lady.
thank you. She works back in the lobbyist's office, and she answers phone calls and then delivers them to the kind of sees what's important in this or that, and then delivers those to the representatives. But so after we did the regular tour, we met up with my grandma, and she took us over to where she works. She showed us her desk and everything. But then it's kind of funny. We're walking, and we got the whole group of us. There's 10 of us, and we come up to a sign and it says "Senators Only." And I was like,
yeah.
And she walked past. I was like, "Wait, you sure about this?" She's like, "Yeah, come on." And so we
right.
got to go. I was like, "Okay." Yeah. So we got to go walk and see kind of the behind the scenes action of this. We were actually down on the Senate floor. We didn't get to go in, but looking through the door. And it was good. That was really cool.
No, that was super cool.
One thing I also noticed is that right outside there, they have phone booths, right?
Yeah,
But you look inside, and it's a super modern telephone, but it's a really old school phone booth. I thought that was funny.
Your grandma also bought everybody in the party. Let's see if the camera will focus on it.
Yeah.
This nice Iowa State Capitol pin.
Yeah, no, that was super cool.
You can see the Capitol on it, and you can see the state of Iowa. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was about it for the Capitol trip, and then we went over to the historical building. If you haven't been there, it is it's a big museum you can go to.
Talk about what we did first before we went there.
Before.
Yeah, the tasty tacos,
Oh,
man.
no. Oh, wait, hold on. We went to the historical building, left, and then went to the historical building, went to Tasty Tacos, and then came back to the
that's
building.
right. Okay, never mind.
So we went to the historical building.
The plan was to go to
Yeah.
Tasty Tacos first, right.
So we ended up going to the historical building, and we walked through the main museum, the normal part of it, right?
Right.
Which was cool. They had some new displays that I hadn't seen since the last time I'd been there.
Right.
But so then we went and got coming back or looping around to regional chains. This is super regional to just Des Moines. We ended up going and eating lunch at Tasty Tacos, which was awesome.
Yeah, who's really good. Those Indian fried tacos.
Yeah, growing up on the east side of Des Moines, all been eating Tasty Tacos since I was 2, But
dude, it was a good experience. Those were really good. Yeah.
Yeah, super good food. But so anyway, then we went back and we met up with Vienna and Jody Evans, who work at the historical building. Jody is the registrar for the historical society at there, and so we sat and talked about some different just career paths through history and things like that, and but then we got to go on probably one of the coolest experiences I've had in a long time.
Oh,
and
yes.
So we got to go down. We actually got to go down into the archives of the historical building.
Oh man, that was amazing. That was so cool.
It was incredible because we got to see all of these things that nobody else gets to see. Right. The public doesn't get to see. It's only the workers and select few that get to go down there. And so we got to see not only just the stuff that they haven't put on display yet and had room for.
Let's take them through the audio tour of what was down there, okay? So
yeah.
We'll give you guys the special background tour of it, right? Okay. So we come downstairs and in an elevator, nonetheless.
Yeah. I don't like elevators, but it worked.
He's not a fan, but especially when people jump in them.
No.
Yeah. So we get down there, right? You go down this long corridor to the main kind of storage facility,
and it's what did she say it was a city block long?
Yeah, it was two city blocks long. Yeah, it was
huge basement.
Big, yeah. And so immediately as you walk into the right was the gun locker, right?
Yeah.
And
we're not talking a gun safe, like a walk-in huge lock.
Right, yeah.
Like probably the size of this whole room, if not bigger.
It was big, right? And it has just famous guns in there. And also, she claimed that there was the famous axe down there.
Yeah, they said that. So if you're from Iowa or even not, just the Villisca axe murders, they have.
I had no idea about it before this.
They have the supposedly the Villisca axe there, and this is an example of something. So we learned about there's a lot of different there's a lot of different laws and things that go along with museum studies that I guess I didn't even necessarily know about.
No,
right?
definitely
Like there was so much law backing to it, and so that's something that one they don't own that axe. It's owned by somebody else, but it's stored there because I don't quite remember.
It's like a historical artifact, right?
There's a historical society that owns the axe, but they do not have the proper credentials to keep it and store it.
Okay.
So they are storing it at the historical building. But another thing is that's something that they can't put on display because of
definitely
emotional attachments to that axe. So that wasn't so long ago. You have family members not very far removed from that tragedy, and so you can't put something like that on display and then run into being, especially because Villisca is in Iowa, running into not so removed family members seeing that and the kind of emotional damages that could cause.
Right. Definitely.
And so that was really neat, just learning about the different legal stuff along with it. Another cool thing that was down there is we got to see they have a few Civil War United States flags, and it was so cool seeing those, and because nobody will get the chance to see them because they have to stay down there in the dark, because if they were to be taken up and see the light of day, it would ruin them. So they can never be taken out, and so we got the opportunity to see them down there,
right?
Which is so cool because they're amazing pieces of U.S. history,
and it was almost like just like an impossibly large puzzle with like so many pieces. Right?
Yeah. Whoever the team was that was put in charge of reassembling and what's the word I'm looking for? Preserving that.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I don't know that I could have done that.
No, absolutely not.
I tried to do a puzzle this weekend.
They had very tiny pieces. I mean, literally the size of like a hair, right? And they were placing it in the correct places for each of these flags. I mean, they were like 13, 14 flags.
Yeah.
Right, and so if you look at, they did put one on display, the best kept one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at that flag up top, you can see most of it's complete. When you go down lower, you can see the older flags, right?
Yeah.
And so these are very fragmented into lots of different pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like just like an impossibly large puzzle, like I was saying.
Yeah. No, really impressive. It's just really cool stuff that, again, we got to experience and we got to see that.
Right.
Not very many people do,
Right, yeah.
It was cool.
No, and we went further down into the vault, and we got to see a bunch of old Native American artifacts.
Yep.
And one of the things they were talking about was NAGPRO. I was an anthropology major for a long time, for like the last year or so. And so NAGPRO is something that you learn about in anthropology because it's a lot of what you have to do is you have to repatriate all these different Native American artifacts, right? And mostly bodies, right? So NAGPRO basically states that you can't exhibit dead Native American ancestry.
Makes sense. That seems reasonable.
Right. So a lot of the problem that comes from NAGPRO though is some of the language is weaker. So you get tribes taking other artifacts that maybe should be in a museum, right?
Okay.
So like those shoes they had down there, right? The burial shoes.
Yeah.
Burial shoes, right? So they were actually found to be just salesman shoes, by an outside source of the museum, but were claimed by like family tradition and stuff to be Native American burial shoes, right? Very colorful, very like patterny. No wear on the bottoms of the soles. And so some of the problems there would be like it would have to be redonated by the tribe, and you can't just put it on display, right?
Yeah.
Other cool things we saw there, they did not have anything to do with the Buddy Holly crash.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But there's also back to Iowa conspiracies. When the Buddy Holly, for those of you that know, just outside of Clear Lake, after performing at the Surf Ballroom, the plane crash that had Buddy Holly, Richie Valentine, the Big Bopper, and is known as The Day That Music Died. If you're familiar with the song, that's who it's about.
Music died.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But no, and so once that happened, they sealed off the whole plane for evidence and all this and that. And then
To protect the aliens. Yeah.
nobody really knows kind of whatever happened with that stuff from the plane. It's just kind of
Yeah, it's in Area 51 now.
yeah. There we go. That's the answer. But no, they had just so much stuff down there. Like Jody Evans, who was kind of leading the tour down there, said, if you name something, not only do we have it, we got 6 of them.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
And
and
she said it as a joke. I think she might be right. They
I
had
think so. They had everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Everything down there, they had it. And,
They had a pair of Abraham Lincoln's original reading glasses.
man, that's so cool,
Dude.
And we didn't get the opportunity to hold them, but she was holding them 3 feet away from, they were right there.
Right there.
So
But,
cool.
interestingly, okay, I don't know how small this guy's face was, okay? They were really tiny.
Yeah. Oh, my fingers were. They're like this. But such an awesome part of history,
Absolutely, yeah.
Another one, super cool. I know you got pumped about this.
Oh, yeah, the mammoth tusk.
Oh, that I was gonna say. They also had a computer mouse signed by Wozniak.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, if you're not familiar with him, I think it's Dave Wozniak. No, Steve Wozniak.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Steve Wozniak. Co-founder of Apple, along with Steve Jobs. Wozniak basically did all the work, and Jobs did all the publicity work. And so it was an actual mouse and I think an original Apple I computer signed by Wozniak.
Yeah,
It
cool.
was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to mention the mammoth tusk.
Oh yeah.
So I had specifically asked Mrs. Jody Evans about the mammoth tusk because they had a giant mammoth skeleton, right? And if you know anything about museums, those are always replicas and plastic moldings of it, right? So I was like, "Hey, do you have this the actual mammoth tusk down there?" Because one of the things I've always wanted to do is I want to go see mammoth tusk. I want to go see old bones. That's cool, right?
She's like,
She's
yep, right this way.
Not only did she know that she had it, she knew exactly where it was.
Keeping in mind, in a basement that's 2 city blocks long by half a city block wide, and then she's just right over here,
Exactly where it was.
aisle 764.
Right.
Oh, I think one of the coolest things, one of my favorite things down there anyway, was they had a plaque that was sent out, and it had a piece of moon rock on it.
Right next to the mammoth tusk.
Yeah,
where
never would have saw it if you wouldn't have asked for it. But it had a plaque with a piece of moon rock on it, which is cool, but you've seen it before. But then on it, it had the state of Iowa flag that was actually on board of the Apollo spacecraft when it went to the moon. And I thought that was incredible.
No, that was so neat. Yeah.
Not only was it something that had been on the moon, but it was a piece of Iowa that had been on the moon, and that was so cool.
Right. No, it was. I mean, it wasn't a very large flag, but I think it might have even been a part of the uniform for the spacesuit.
Yeah.
It was about that size. You would think.
But no, that was really
that was
really
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was an awesome experience. But yeah, so no, that whole trip to Des Moines was awesome.
Excellent trip. Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned really why we ended up going. So we went through for our history club. We're trying to do things, trying to create new experiences for all the members and being able to do things like going on field trips and going to conferences and things like that.
Right. Yeah. One of the things we're doing is this podcast, right? For the history club.
Right.
Dallas is the president of the history club. I'm the vice president. Newly elected about Monday, I think. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Welcome.
yeah. Right. Yeah. Celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we went to the museum.
Yeah, and so I guess talking about, because this podcast is something that we're doing within the History Club, some of the other things that we kind of do, we like to go on trips and this and that. We host, we have meetings every Monday, and then also every Monday night we host what we call History Hangout, where we just watch movies, and it's just kind of an environment to watch movies and work on homework and just kind of hang out and do. But yeah, I guess. What are some of the other things we do? So we try to put on events on campus. Last year for Constitution Day, we put together. Peter wasn't here for this yet, but we put together a kind of Nick Cage Declaration of Independence / Constitution scavenger hunt. Okay, and it was cool, and it took people all around campus in the community, and there was clues that would hint towards an amendment, and once you figured out what the amendment was, that would lead you towards where you were supposed to go. So, for example, there was a clue and I don't remember exactly what the clues said, but that would have led you to guess the First Amendment, and you'd go, okay, freedom of speech, freedom of all this, and you go, and then you would end up going to the communications department. And so if you went to the communications lab, you'd find the next clue, and so on. And so we put on events and things like that. And I'm really excited, actually. We've got a lot of stuff in the works for next year. I think
next
we're
year's
gonna have some
great.
really cool stuff going.
I mean, Dallas and I are heading up everything. We're really gonna make History Club great again.
Yeah, well, great again. Funny. Anyway, but no, actually, I was looking at, so the SEAL Awards were last night.
Okay, yeah. How did you do?
I won. I am student
Hell
body
yeah,
vice president.
Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you. But anyway, I was looking, and so most of the SEAL Awards was voting on awards for, best student organization, best this and that.
Yeah.
And I was looking, and there was in 2015, History Club won one, and I was like, that would be so cool if next year we could win another award.
And we could do it. I mean,
yeah,
we have support, and we have enough.
Yeah.
I mean, support from our professors, support from other students.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool about History Club that I don't think you see in any other major related clubs. So if you look at business club, creative writing, but you look at all the different clubs like that.
Yeah, psychology.
They don't have psychology club.
Yeah,
they don't have very many people outside of their major, right? So if I had to take a guess,
yes,
I would say that if I had to take a guess, I would say that business club doesn't have anyone in it that's not a business major.
No.
For History Club, we have 4 or so people,
4
maybe
or 5, yeah,
that aren't history majors, and I think they just like history, and I think that's super cool.
And it's something that everybody. I mean, I don't know very many people who don't like history. I think a lot of people don't like history classes per se.
But everybody's got something in history that gets them excited, right?
Right, exactly.
And that's the cool thing about history is there's so many different kinds of topics. You can look at American history, European history,
like war
different
history.
time
You can even
periods.
go into yeah.
Just so many different. There's something within history for everybody.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome, but yeah, no. So super excited for next year. What classes did you like this year?
What classes I like
First
this
year at Waldorf.
Oh man, okay. So I'm really liking the Modern American Presidency class. Okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
That's it's a big giant class where. Let me grab my book.
You read 8 million books. Okay, so I know you're grabbing your books here. Do you like how that class is run? The reading books and.
Oh yeah, I think so like a lot of what the class was is right. We just kind of went through the Modern American Presidency. I think we started with McKinley, right?
Yeah, and worked our way through.
Yeah, and so trying to like figure out where exactly the modern presidency starts.
Yeah.
If there's even a modern presidency, right?
Boom, boom.
No, but yeah, I don't know if you can see this book.
So
I think
it's about 1 million pages. Yeah,
Yeah.
like 1.5 million maybe.
Yeah, I think somewhere around. I think it literally hits 1,000 in here. It's a book called Trader's Class.
FDR.
Yep, and it's about FDR, the privileged life and radical presidency of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was the giant book that we had to read for the class.
Along with 4 or so other books, yeah.
Right, so we had to read, I believe it was Gould's textbook was what we used. A history of the modern American presidency.
Yeah.
We also read the, I'm not sure who the author of it was, but the Myth of the Modern American Presidency.
Yeah,
which also had its flaws in it. Of course, the concept of a modern American president, right, has its flaws in there. Not all. Each president has a different way of running things, right?
Yeah.
So the main concept of the modern American presidency was like running. Was like running a bureaucratic organization.
An increase in bureaucracy.
You were increasing use of media, and one other one that I can never remember.
Yeah. We haven't taken the final yet. We'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out this weekend when I start studying.
Oh,
okay.
Good.
No, but and so we started going through it, but like you see, sometimes you go into like the Republican presidencies of immediately predecessing the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
You see Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover, right?
Sure.
You see Hoover was from Iowa, right?
Yeah.
And you see these presidents are categorized as like a recession of the modern American presidency, right?
Yeah.
But he also Gould also included them right in the middle of his book, right? Because that's where they are. They're kind of right in the middle of McKinley and FDR, who most people consider FDR to be like the real start of modern Reconstruction.
That is the starting point of
That's where I would consider the starting point of the modern Reconstruction.
Sure, yeah,
right?
yeah.
He greatly expanded all the bureaucracy. He greatly expanded his use of the media. He had great control over the media to the point where he was never allowed to be shown sitting.
Yeah, I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
FDR had polio, and he had such a grip on the media that he was never shown sitting, but also that he had to have leg braces on, and he would waddle up to the stage to give speeches.
That's right.
But that would him walking up and him walking away would never be shown because people go, "Wow, why is he walking so weird?"
Right. He also had a car specially developed for himself.
Yep.
He could drive it using just his hands, right? So I think a lot of these things are like pretty much FDR is there, right?
But so you like the kind of the structure?
I like the general structure.
Okay,
right.
so that is how Mason does all of his upper level classes.
Okay.
So I've taken Northern Plains Indians with him.
Right.
U.S. environmental history.
Yeah. How is that with him?
Oh, it was actually one of my favorite classes, and so being an area that I'm really passionate about is climate change, and so environmental history is really cool because it combined my love for history and my love for studying climate change together, and kind of shows how we got to this point, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And but no, it was really good, and so same structure as all of his other upper level classes is there's generally 4 to 6 books that you read and write book reviews on throughout the semester, which I think is really good preparing you for if you plan on going to graduate school, because that's basically all graduate school is reading and writing about what you read.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but no, that was a really interesting class. We read a lot of good books. Like I talked about, we read Cadillac Desert that talks about water scarcity and misuse of water sources in California. We read by Thomas Friedman, Hot, Flat, and Crowded. Probably it's one of the powerhouses in the environmental history world. Talks about this idea. Well, his first book he wrote was called "The Earth is Flat," not meaning in the sense of Flat Earth Society, but meaning in the sense that we have reached a flatness in socioeconomic globalization, meaning as far as trading and some examples he gives are you could be using an American computer in America made by an American company and called to get tech support and would be fixed by a dude across the world.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
right.
And he talks about this time he was golfing, and I don't remember where he was. Maybe it was India. I don't recall. But, and he's standing there in the golf course and he's looking out and he's seeing all these billboards and signs for American companies in English. And he's like, if I didn't know better, I would think I was in the United States right now. And so that's what he's talking about with the Earth is Flat. But we read a lot of books and we did some presentations. One of the presentations I did was on the Dust Bowl, like we talked about earlier with that paper.
Okay, yeah.
And I read a book called The Worst Hard Times, and it was written by... Man, I can't think of who it was written by. So for that class, we had, I believe, 4 assigned books, and then we picked a book.
Okay.
And so that's the book that I picked, and it talks about... and a really cool fact, takeaway from the Dust Bowl that has to do with kind of fashion like we were talking about earlier, is so... oftentimes this fashion, the clothing they were wearing, they couldn't wear the regular clothes because it would be destroyed by the sand and dust and all these things.
Okay.
And so this is also a very poor community at the time, right?
Right.
Very poor socioeconomic. Economically.
One of the poorest. I mean, part of the Great Depression, right?
Yeah, correct. And so a lot of the times they would have to make clothing with what they had. And so a lot of the times they would use potato sacks and or other grain sacks and things like that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
To make shirts and things like that. But it was something that I think is just really cool is that these companies would like the potato companies, knowing that the people in these areas were going to need to use that for clothing, they started to put some different prints and flowery patterns on that.
Oh man! Okay.
So that when they received it, they could then make it into a clothing that had some sort of pattern other than just a burlap sack that says potatoes across it.
Man, that kind of shows you the good of humanity, right?
Yeah, no, super cool, yeah. But yeah, no. So I'm trying to think. What are some other classes I'm taking next year?
How do you feel about Clocky's class right now? The debate class.
I like it. I've taken a few of Clocky's upper level classes. I've taken a few of his lower level classes. Right, just like this is probably that was probably my favorite lower level class that he teaches.
Okay.
Now it could also have to do with I'm really interested in American history. Clocky's not.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, so he teaches like medieval history, ancient history, Vikings. Like, I did take his Vikings class. That was super cool. He did a whole class on Vikings.
I think that'd be cool.
And that's something that he gets really amped about. And so that's one thing that I think I definitely end up enjoying his upper level classes more because he teaches stuff he gets excited about.
Okay.
But no, that contemporary world class, I really have enjoyed those debates. And if you would have asked me last year, I really wouldn't have been about it too much. I don't know.
What was that?
I don't know. So I guess for one example, we had a debate in that environmental class, and it was Rachel and I debating against each other one-on-one. And
What?
Yeah, so we did one-on-one debate, like 1v1, and it was very structured. It was like you had your intro, you had your opening statement, you had your rebuttal, then their rebuttal, and then I believe it was 4 against building of the Hetch Hetchy Dam. I believe
The what now?
the Hetch Hetchy Dam. It was actually built in attempts to get water to California.
Oh, okay, cool.
But
I don't know where it comes from. I'm just drinking.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But last year, I don't know. I like talking. I generally like talking in front of people. I don't have a problem with it. But for whatever reason, when I got up there, I froze. I don't know why. It had never happened before. Like middle school and all that. I was in theater, that stuff. And like even just being in debates and other things and presentations, never had a problem. For whatever reason, right there, I froze.
Oh man.
Don't know what the reason was.
Okay.
And so then, it ended up we were debating about the Hetch Hetchy Dam, but I was debating for whether or not it should be built, and she was like, I was debating for it in the time period, but she was debating for it like it was today, whether or not we should get rid of it. And so we.
So you're not even agreeing on what you're debating about, right? So that's a problem.
So it created a problem within the debate, and I just froze. And so and I don't know why, and it hasn't happened since. In the debates we've had, I've done fine.
Right.
So coming into this class, finding out there's going to be that many debates, I was a little bit nervous, but then I was ended up being fine. But yeah, no, that was a weird thing that happened. But
the formatting of the debates is nice. I like it because there's been 8 debates, right? Mm-hmm. And each debate is like half of the class versus half of the class, right? Some of the topics we debated were climate change, right? Which almost just devolved into me versus Clocky.
Yeah. Genetics.
Genetics, right?
Or eugenics. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
which
we had that 3-way debate that was
what was it? Malcolm X, Black Panther,
and MLK,
yeah, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That was an interesting one. That one. It was interesting.
I'm not sure if I liked the format of it.
No, it was hard trying to debate in that kind of triangle format because the Black Panthers stemmed off of Malcolm X, right? So very similar ideologies in a sense, different execution of their goals, but very similar ideologies. So a lot of the debate turned into Malcolm X and the Black Panthers group going on the MLK group. So I think in order for that
to the point where the girl in the back, I don't know if you remember this. Oh man, this girl in the back of the class hasn't said anything the entire debate. Right, Dallas's team is the
Black Panther
is the Black Panther Party, and they're pretty much winning at this point. But there's one girl who hasn't said anything the entire debate. Okay, she comes in and she says, "Yeah, but what has Martin Luther King done for civil rights anyways?"
Yeah, when she said that, I was like, man.
Just opened up the floor for them. It just, completely ruined your debate.
I was like, well, I can give you 13 things off the top of my head without thinking about it.
I could not keep my laughter in. I was just like...
That's something interesting I noticed with myself, is during these debates, most of the time, I picked sides I didn't agree with.
Okay.
Which I don't know why.
Interesting.
I thinking about it now, I happened to pick sides that I didn't agree with. Maybe to challenge myself. But I also think it's really important if you're going to argue for something to know what people are going to argue against, right? Like
Right.
that is a
Absolutely.
huge thing about it. And that's one of the things we're talking about, like climate change being like one of my something I'm passionate about. I know probably just as much about climate change as I do about the arguments against climate change, right? And so,
Right.
and maybe just subconsciously, that's why I ended up picking the things that I disagreed with, so then I could have a better understanding of why I agree with them, or why I argue the other way.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I enjoy debating. I think you.
Yeah,
you
I know
found
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of points. I have a lot of probably controversial points. I'd assume.
All right. Well, this has been really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's about time to wrap it up.
Time to wrap it up. This is our first shot at it, so hopefully everything turned out well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
It'll get better.
Yeah.
Leave your comments in the comment section below, and
Yeah, definitely.
we
We want the
100%.
feedback. Yeah.
we'll 100% take your suggestions into heart. And we'll-
Yeah. Let us know other topics you want us to talk about. I know we kind of jumped
Definitely.
around a lot today, but hopefully we'll start getting a little more structured. But any feedback you have for us would be amazing. Any topics you want to hear us talk about.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Anything within history, or I'm into politics. Like,
Right,
we
yeah.
can
Oh,
go
yeah.
that route. Whatever you guys want to hear, let us know. But yeah, just kind of a recap. We talked about the hotel wars, We talked
Definitely.
about that dance lock-in. Talked about kind of our trips to the Capitol, our experiences at Waldorf, classes, all that.
We talked about
But-
the Missouri Valley History Conference.
But
we
talked
did
about
talk
all that.
about,
We
yeah.
appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
So we'll talk briefly on the schedule for what's going to be happening soon.
Yeah.
So History Club is done for the year.
Yeah.
As for the podcast, this is kind of like a one-off episode for this semester.
Yep, this
just
is
so we
our
can
trial
test everything else,
run,
right?
see what we need to work on over the summer. So hopefully if you guys like this, you will like it enough to be ready for when it comes back after summer break, and it will be, I guarantee it'll be much more fine-tuned than it
Absolutely,
is right now.
yeah.
And we'll have all summer to work on it.
We're hoping to get it up going at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Starting the second week of fall semester, right? So we're gonna give ourselves a week to get into things and to set it up. We might record an episode that week.
Yeah.
Obviously, not sure yet.
If we can figure out the tech part of it, maybe Peter and I can do one over the summer or so.
Definitely, that would be
if
kinda
we can
fun,
figure it
yeah.
out from California to Iowa.
All right, we can do this. We can do that.
Yeah, I think we can figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe there'll be one this summer.
All right.
We just keep chugging away, working on kind of perfecting. Well, there's no such thing as perfect, but bettering what we've got going on right now. And
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think
Thanks so
that's
much,
it.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching.
Yep. Peace.